manager of this restaurant, and this young lady here for giving us this great opportunity and for this delicious food. We've been here 3 or 4 times and we just enjoy it. So please, after this event, come back and show them how much you appreciate what they've done. Thank you.
Is this one? Here we go. I might be loud enough for you to hear me, but I guess I'll keep the mic active as well. It is my pleasure to speak before you because my purpose as an individual is to help improve this world. Now, I'm not a Rockefeller. I don't have millions of dollars and millions of people at my disposal. But a lesson that my dad taught me, I was a long-haired rock and roll drummer who thought I didn't listen to a word he said during our scout meetings. But when we went to a campsite, we had to leave that campsite in better shape than when we got there. I was picking up Wrigley gum wrappers. I didn't drop this, pick it up. Now, he didn't think I listened to anything he said. Coming forward all those years, and it instilled with me, well, whatever resources I have available to me, and I left ego behind years ago. It's not an egotistical thing, but I have a purpose of doing whatever I can, and that my actions will help improve this world. So my grandchildren and their children and your grandchildren and your children never live in a country without freedom and liberty. Now, I usually start these talks by saying that we live in dangerous times, and that's what I'm telling you today. We live in dangerous times. Do I say this because you shouldn't go to Walmart because you could be carjacked or someone could steal your purse? You can't walk your dog in the park because someone might attack you. Your kids aren't safe at school. That is not the reason I'm saying we live in dangerous times. But we all should be aware of our surroundings when we're out and about. The reason I say that we are in dangerous times is because if you look across the world, there is no other country that has decided that all laws will have to pass muster with 2 of the most important documents in all of human history, the Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution. If a senator introduces a bill that doesn't follow the guidelines of these 2 documents, that bill is thrown out. In 1776, the British could come right into your house and take whatever they wanted. They didn't have to produce a warrant. They didn't have to ask anybody. You did not have freedom of speech. You did not have freedom of religion. That's why our founding fathers wrote into the Constitution safeguards so that we would never have those freedoms eclipsed. And you and I know that certain individuals in our society are trying to break those down. My book talks about one central thing that is vital. I want to ask how many of you know how much it costs if you want to run a successful U.S. Senate campaign. Does anybody know how much it costs these days? $25 million. $50 million. Now I want to see hands. You want to run for Senate? Who has $50 million in this room? So the situation is, and it has been artificially pushed to this limit, that an individual who's really a good individual wants to run for Senate and do good things for the people of this country. And then that individual has to say, all right, I need the money, and if I take money from this guy or this group, they're going to want favors. And that's where we have arrived, at a situation where we are taxed, but we don't have true representation. Because if you go to the office of your senator and say, hey, Senator, I'm here, I'm a constituent, I want you to go this way on the bill or that way on the bill, the senator will say, oh, it's always so great to see the public come in, I'm glad you're involved. And when you leave, they get on the red phone and they ask their supporters who provided them $50 million, how do you want me to vote on this? And your interests are forgotten. So the opening chapter of my book is renaming our politicians. And guess what their name should be? Every time that you send them an email, you call them, you write them a letter, you visit them, public servant. Now, you don't have to get ugly and say, you're a public servant, and I hate you guys. Let's not do that. They're not going to listen to anything worse than before if you act like that. But if you say, in a letter, in meeting them, in an email, public servant, U.S. Senator John Smith, Mary Jones, if you get a bad response, how dare you call me a public servant? I'm a senator. You should show me due respect. They are working for somebody else and not you. That is a litmus test. We all know what a litmus test is. You put the thing in the pool and see if it's got the right mix of chemicals. This is a perfect litmus test. All of you in this room, any of you in this room say, what can I do? I'm just one person. Start calling your elected officials public servants and see what their response is. That will tell you whether you should vote for them again or not. We are their bosses. Sorry, my voice is a little weak today, but this talk was so important, I said I'm not canceling. So here I am. I've got tea, I've got a halls in my mouth, so I'm going to keep going on my allotted time. But you can do this one thing. No matter how much training you feel like you have, how much experience you have, start calling our elected officials public servants, see what their response is. That's one of the chapters in my book. Now, if we get into the trap or allow ourselves to fall into the trap, oh, Democrats are all bad, oh, Republicans are all bad, or vice versa, we are playing into their hands. What does a magician do? He gets you looking over here while he does the trick over here. They want us fighting amongst ourselves so we don't notice the criminality that they're doing behind the scenes, right? They don't want us to know about that. That's why they dumbed down the schools. This is not a Democrat-Republican issue. Everyone in this room, everyone in this country has some responsibility for the furtherance of our freedoms and liberties. I don't expect you to quit your job and suddenly work on this 24/7, but shouldn't we all do something given that what's on the line is our freedoms and liberties? Do you realize in many countries in this world, the talk I'm giving today, either right now or after you're all gone, somebody will say, Mr. Gardner, come with me, please? And you would not hear from me again. I also cover information on the Federal Reserve. We should be printing our own money. You should not be drugging our kids with psychiatric medications because the school is so boring that they can't sit still. We also do not want to continue to make welfare a lifestyle. It is a helping hand. And if you are on welfare, great, we're helping you out. Thank you. We're helping you out. But you're going to be in job training. And other solutions and other organizations in the book that have been proven to help with study, drug detoxification, and situations like that. Now, I understand that, we're being grossly taxed, we're being grossly worked because they're keeping us so busy, but there is a section in my book that talks about the campaigns that I have run with basically no budget that you can also take a part in and just do community action. There are a series of movies in the back of the book. You may have seen these movies before. You may have never seen them, but all of them have very important statements that you should watch these movies again, perhaps with a new viewpoint. Now, we talk about what can one person do. Everybody in this room probably knows the story of Rosa Parks, right? It gets me a little emotional when I tell you this. I used to work at a Ford dealership. I was sent back to Detroit for training. They found the bus that Rosa Parks was sitting in and refurbished it. It was on display in the Ford Museum. I got on the bus. I was looking for the plaque that showed where Rosa Parks was sitting. Now, this doesn't justify what this individual did, but my gosh, I never knew this fact I'm about to share with you. She was in the black section, and he comes lumbering back and says, "Get up, I want to see." Now, she was one person. I doubt if she ever gave a speech. I doubt if she ever wanted to be in politics, and she said, "You know what? I've been working all day long, and I'm tired. Go ahead, arrest me." She opened the door for Martin Luther King, and she opened the door to something else you may not know. The black community boycotted the buses. They refused to ride the buses until they desegregated. And I would have loved to be in the office when the manager of the bus line said, "George, come on, you got to desegregate." What are you talking about? Look, we can no longer continue without the ridership of the black community. Desegregate already. That's the only reason they did it. Money. They didn't do it because it was the right thing to do, but she started that. One person. I don't want you to leave this room ever believing that one person can't make a difference. You can. Now, I'm selling this book for $10. I'm not doing this so I can buy a Ferrari or go to Tahiti. You know, I'm just covering the printing costs because the information I feel in this book is important. The whole purpose of this book is to educate, motivate, bring up to a need for change and a demand for improvement, and then we will see results. You look out on any parking lot and there are just tons of small SUVs. Do you know that Ford Motor Company is no longer making any sedans except for the Mustang? Why? Because the consumers are buying. We have the power. Do you know why there are range-free eggs in the grocery stores? Because enough people have said, "I am not going to support farms where the animal sits in a cage in a warehouse and produces eggs for me." If I go to the grocery store and there aren't range-free eggs, I don't buy eggs. But that's because of our buying power. We can have the same effect when we start demanding of our politicians on both sides of the aisles, "Hey, I am your boss. This is what I want you to do. I want you to pass legislation that's good for everyone." If you take an example, let's say a guy or a girl, robbed 7-Eleven. Now they put him in jail for a year and a half. No, we are paying rent and food for that individual. Maybe they have to go to jail as a slap on the wrist for a little while. And guess what? Let's send a message to would-be criminals. Okay, you hit a 7-Eleven, for the next 8 years, every Saturday, you're going to be doing community work. Let me tell you, most criminals do not want to be saddled with that. They'll say, "Joey, don't hit the 7-Eleven, it's not worth it." That's the message we need to send. The only thing taxpayers should pay for, and this is in my book, is the upkeep of the jails and the payments and salaries to the staff. These people that are not dangerous to society, no, we are not paying your rent, We are not paying for your food for 8 years. We are not paying your health care. You're going to be out paying that on your own. The taxpayer should not be saddled with that. And to help you and to society, because there is so much work that needs to be done, Joe Schwartz, Betty Williams, for the next 8 years, every Saturday, you are going to be doing community work for 8 hours a day. Now, imagine if that got into the newspapers. Most of the sane individuals who maybe were thinking about doing something criminal would go, no, that's not worth it. It's not worth it. I don't want to spend, what if my girlfriend wants to go to a movie on Saturday? I'm sorry, honey, for the next 8 years, I got to do community work. And that benefits us, and it helps that individual raise up as well, because when they're sitting in jail and they're paying their rent and they're paying their food, they're not doing anything to make up for the trouble they caused society. Now, I have about 5 minutes left. I'd like to take any questions. And by the way, I have the book over there, and you get a free environmental report with it. But any questions you might have, I will answer as best as I can. Anybody got a question? Oh, come on, there's one question out there, I'm sure. Yes, sir.
Will you sign the book?
I will sign the book, absolutely. Absolutely. That was too easy a question. Give yourself a lot of Anybody else got a question?
What's your position on ESG?
I'm sorry?
What is your position on ESG regulations?
You're going to have to tell me what, I do not know what ESG is, I'm sorry.
Those are the new restrictions for banks in America to impose on loans to businesses and individuals. E stands for environmental regulations, S for social, and G for governmental.
I think I know where you're going. It is not correct for online services or banks, to monitor your political or religious views and limit you or give you access because you're on the right side of whatever trend is in society. That is wrong. If that answers your question, that's where I stand on that. Because there was some talk that to get loans, they were going to start looking into what sites you go to
Exactly.
on the internet. And what is that? That is absolutely not America. We're not going to stand for that.
It's financial control.
Yeah, right. And our young people, I think I have another minute just to give you one other example. Someone starts to talk at the college that they don't like, so they go online, say we're going to have a big riot. The college says, hey, we don't have enough money to pay the salary of the police officers, so I'm sorry, Tom Schwartz, Betty Jones, you can't speak at the college. That cancels their freedom of speech, right? Now, if the young people want to protest outside and say, don't go in there, but go in there if you happen to like what they're saying, that's the way America should be, not we're going to cause a riot, the college can't pay for it, and so the speaker gets canceled. That's not freedom of speech for anyone. So, any other questions? I think I'm probably running out of time rapidly here. But I will sign the books, you get a free environmental report, and guess what? You even get a bookmark. They work in every book. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. One person can make a difference. Any of you in this room can make a difference.